Are you a church musician who is a chord chart reading robot? Well, let me tell you, it's time to fix that. Let's get you playing by ear. This is a video on how to learn any worship song by ear, or any song by ear for that matter. To truly be a master of your craft, I believe it is important to learn how to play music by ear. So today we're going to talk about some really important steps on playing by ear. So I have a worship playlist pulled up of some songs that I've never heard before. And the first step we need to do is identify what key the song is in. This is found by you hear the note and you figure out what is the home note. Basically, this happens internally, okay? And before I even play it on the piano, I'm humming it. I'm humming what the home note is, okay? And I do this by listening to the context of the song, like what's happening. It might not always start on a one chord, but you'll have enough information after a certain point to figure out what the home chord is. And so I'm going to be trying to identify that, okay? And I don't have perfect pitch, so you don't have to have perfect pitch to be able to play by ear. If you think that's true, that is not true. You have to have good relative pitch, which I've trained my relative pitch so that I can pretty much hear and play any song that I hear, because I've worked at developing this relative pitch. Basically means once I know what key I'm in, I can then say, okay, that's the 1 chord, the 4 chord, the 5 chord, because I know the context of what's happening. So the first thing that we're going to do is we identify what we think the home note is in our head, and then what we do is we play a random note. You just got to pick a note, right? We're starting somewhere on the piano, and the question that you ask is, how far away from my home note is the note that I just played, right? And then we walk back to the home note. Okay, so that's kind of the step we're going to do. I'm going to play a random song called Awe/Wonder by People of the Earth. I've never heard the song before. So I think that's probably my 1 chord, but let's keep listening. Yeah, so this is definitely my one note, or okay. So da, 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 da. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sounds like a 5. So I believe we're in the key of B flat. I've never heard the song before, but I have internalized that this sounds like my 1. But I don't have perfect pitch, so I don't know where that is on the piano yet. So I hit this note, but then I know, oh, that sounds like the 5 as far as what key we're in, okay? As I lift my eyes. Okay, so that's step number 1. Identify the key, and this is how you do it. Okay, step number 2 is learn the bass line, okay? So let's take a listen to what's happening. Even in those first like 20 seconds, there's a little intro there, right? As I lift my so da, da, da. So basically a 1 chord, it's like a D minor 7, G minor, and then an E flat. So 1, 3, 6, 4 basically. Let's try it one more time. The verse continues on the same progression. Cry and a humble call. You are drawing close to meet me here. And that's all I'll play with the song, because I don't want to get flagged too much on these with the copyright infringement. Okay, so we figured out our bass line is 1, 3, 6, 4. But then after that, what we need to do is fill it in with some chord information, right? So just because it's a 1 doesn't mean it has to be 1 chord. Sometimes it's a 5 over 1. Sometimes it's a 1 suspended, it's 4 over 1. You can have all these different slash chords, okay? But as we listen, I found out that it does sound like a 1 chord because it sounds like it's home, right? And then we're moving we're moving to that 3 chord. The 3 chord is a little bit unstable, very close to the 1/3, but the distinguisher is this 7 note, right? It's not a 1/3 if there's that 7 in it, right? And then we're gonna go to a 6 chord, and then the 4 chord with the add 2 on it, because there's that kind of melody there, right? Okay, let's try another song. Let's see what happens. Looking here, let's do Morning by Morning, I Will Trust by Pat Barrett. I've never heard this one. So I believe this is our one day. Right. So the first note I hit was that. It sounded like the flat 7. So I think we're in the key of C here. Let's double check it again. He's got a lot of. So like da da da. So we go right 5 4 3. So this is all happening internally. I know that it sounds like the 5 chord 5 4 3. Right. Now that I know I'm in the key of C, I have everything mapped out in my head. That's what's happening, right? 5 4 3 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 1. This is becoming internalized, the scale. So this has to do with the number system and the way, you know, you can internalize the number system. So the 5 always sounds like the 5, the 1 always sounds like the 1. 2 4 5 6 3 4 1. All these notes have a unique sound, right? So that little melody happens, and I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds like a 5 4 3, right? And then he goes right into another section, but for that first part, he has basically just 2 chords happening, which is like, I think the 1 and the 4. Let's just double check that. Right there. Okay, so that's basically the intro, right? Okay, then he launches right into the next part of the song, which is probably the verse, right? So that is where melodies are important to learn, right? Not just the bass line, but melodies are also important. So that is anything melodic that you hear, you want to try to replicate. So let me just go over my process really quick. So the first thing I want to do is find the key that we're in, okay? And we just talked about that. The second thing I want to do is find the bass line. The bass line is super important because it is what the rest of the song is built on. If you can lock in and listen to that lowest sounding note, that's your bass line. Even if there's no bass guitar, it could be a piano note, it could be a cello, it could be a, you know, anything, but it could be a synth bass, right? But you want to lock in on that lowest sounding note because that's the bass line, and everything else is kind of built on that. The third thing you want to do is identify the chord tones that go along with that bass line. So is it a 1? Is it a 5/1? Is it a 4/1? Is it a 1 suspended? Is it a 1 minor? Like all these things kind of go into it, and you can get good at this by just learning a lot of chords and what they sound like. Learn major chords, learn minor chords, learn suspended chords, but start listening to what they sound like, not just going through the motions of building the chords, right? Listen to what they're sounding like as you build them. You want to listen for any lead line, any melody, right, that you hear. These are really important because that's kind of what the right hand is doing a lot of times. So you have the bass in your left hand, you have the chords in the middle, and then you have the melodies kind of on top, right? So all 4 of these components are really important, and they kind of make up a whole song. You got the key of your song, which is before you can really do anything else, then the bass, and then the chords, and then the melody. And that's the song, right? So if you can get those 4 components going, you'll be able to play by ear. Oh, the next thing I wanted to say is thinking about songs in blocks helps as well. So once you learn the bass line, the chords, and the melody of one section, just kind of put that in a block, right? So think about the intro as one block, the verse is another block, the chorus and the bridge are other blocks. Sometimes there's some overlap between those, but if you could just think about those in terms of blocks, that helps you to learn the whole song and remember it without even having to read a chord chart, right? So these are the kind of things that the high-level musicians do. And you can write it down, but just being able to hear it is super important, not just depending on a chord chart that might be wrong, right? Let's get into this verse. Okay, so it sounds like the bass is going dum, dum. Again. It may do the same thing. It may do something different on this next time.
By a mercy that's new every morning, awaken my soul to sing. Oh, awaken my soul to sing. I will try.
Okay, so the fourth time around, he does this walk up. So the first time does that like 3 times. The last 2 times, just a little walk up. D minor, C over E, F, 2, 1 over 3, 4.
Awaken my soul to sing. Oh, awaken my soul to sing. I will
Yeah, so he did.
sing. I will trust.
So then we go, I will trust. Sounds like a 1 chord with the add 2.
Where you lead, I will trust. When I
Sounds like a 4
can't
chord.
see. Morning by
6.
morning, great is your
5,
faithfulness
4.
to me.
So I will trust. I will trust. Morning by morning. Basically walks down, right? And that's the whole chorus. Let's do it one more time.
I will trust. Where you lead, I will trust. When I can't see. Morning by morning, great is your faithfulness
To me. So simultaneously, you're also trying to process what's the melody, right? So that way, for me, it is the biggest clue as to where I want to play my chords, right? So because the melody goes this to me on this 4 chord, I might start the 4 chord with a second inversion, and I can walk it up like that, and then back maybe into the verse or into the intro or wherever he goes from there. So that's as far as I'll go with that song. Let's do one more song. Actually, I saw in this playlist called Come Into the Light by Taya. Now, this is an interesting thing because I've heard the song before, but I've never sat down to play it. So I have no idea what key it's in, but I have a little bit of information because I've heard it a couple times, like on different playlists. It's a good song, so let's check it out. Da, da, da. So it's probably 175. But I gotta get more context.
Are you wounded from all the pain?
Yes, that's a wrong chord. Now we gotta find the key. First step, find the key. Da. That's our 3, right? Da, da, da. So we found out this in the key of A flat. Are you wounded? Okay, so let's go back to that intro. Now that we know what key we're in the key of A flat, which is cool, right? So we found that key. Let's do it one more time. So I was right about the 175. But sometimes you need more context because that could also be 4, 3, 1 in another key, right? But 175 in this key.
Are you wounded from all the pain of hidden sin and secret shame?
So right now there's no bass. So
are you burdened and so
6 chord though.
afraid? Come into the light.
So just one quick thing about these intros that are very ambient. Some of them it's almost hard to hear. You don't really know as much about what the chord progression is until you get maybe to the second verse. But in this case, I was able to, it's probably like 1, 4, 6, 5. But you want to listen with good headphones because there's no way of telling that if you were just like listening to your phone. But I was able to get enough information from like the lower notes on the guitar or the pad, even though there's not much bass at all. So we'll keep listening. But you want to listen with good headphones or good speakers so you can hear that bass note. Because if without hearing on a good set of speakers, you're not going to hear the bass line. Sometimes you can't even hear the bass line, right? So you want to hear it on a good set of speakers when you're trying to play by ear.
Are you weak and scared
One chord.
to speak of what you can't add?
4 chord. There's more bass now.
Are you tired of lacking peace? Come
5.
into the light. Come
4.
into the light.
One other thing I want to say is, even though I'm doing this kind of in the moment, you want to be careful about overplaying when you're first listening to a song, because you could be trampling over what's actually happening and miss what they're doing. So I see this on a lot of younger musicians. They're trying to like listen to the song, but they're just literally playing over the top of it and missing a ton of key information. So when I'm really listening to a song, a lot of times I'll be either plucking around barely to kind of get, find out what that melody is, but mostly just kind of listening. Just listen, maybe find out the key, but then just sit back and listen to that first, right?
And you
Okay, so, we got a 1/3, right?
will find a
4
savior,
chord.
gentle and lowly,
1.
waiting on the other side. He will meet you gladly, over and over, with love and kindness in his eyes. Oh, come into the light.
I'm coming to the light, and you will find a Savior, gentle and holy. Got a little interlude there. Okay, so that's like a 4 chord, 1, 6, 5, right? And honestly, I was gonna make a joke about this at the beginning of the video. If you want to learn any worship song, all you need is 4 chords: 1, 4, 5, and 6, right? Of course, that's not entirely true. You need all the chords, but those chords are used a lot, and also in a lot of pop music, not just worship. So sometimes worship music gets a bad rap for that, but honestly, it's all pop music, all contemporary music is like those 4 chords. Just rearrange them in a lot of different ways, right? So there we go. That's my third song. I'll leave it right there. I kind of knew that song already by listening to it on different playlists, but I had never sat down to play. I didn't even know it was in the key of A flat, right? Because I don't have perfect pitch. If I had perfect pitch, I'd be like, oh yeah, this is in the key of A flat. The horn's honking in the key of D flat, right? That's not how my brain works. But once I know what key we're in, I could actually learn a song just by driving to church. You know, I've done this before where actually I was cramming for a worship service one time, and you think you know a song, and then I realized, oh, this is a completely different version of the song. So as I'm driving into church, I'm actually listening to the song for the first time, really trying to pay attention to what the chords are, right? And you can actually do that by listening, oh, that's 1 chord, 2 chord, and then you get to church, figure out what key you're in, and go from there. And this is why it's important to know all 12 keys equally well so that nothing surprises you too much. So study your keys, of course, but after you do that, this is the next step in learning to play by ear. And if you want to take a deeper dive, I actually have a Church Piano 101 course where we go into a lot of ear training. So you can check that out below. And also, if you're a little bit more advanced, you can check out my Zoom lessons that I offer. My schedule is below, so you can check that out. Playing by ear is something I think every church musician should really aspire to. Obviously, you don't want to just get there and be tied to that chord chart and then have them all of a sudden need to change the key. You can't do that for whatever reason, or your iPad dies. There's so many ways you don't want it to be just connected to that chord chart. You want to have it internalized. And when you can do that, you actually play better too. Even if you can't play by ear, if you memorize the song, that's when you really can play, you can loosen up, and you get the best sound when you have it memorized. And playing by ear is a huge part of that too. There's also an app out there. I just want to throw this little nugget at you. Functional Ear Trainer. I have no affiliation with them, but it's an app that I've been having my students use. It's Functional Ear Trainer on the App Store, and it gives you a cadence to know what key you're in, and then it'll give you a random note. And the way is going to be 1 through 7 to start with, right? And then it'll even start giving you some chromatic notes, right? But at first, you just need to count down 3, 2, 1. Okay, it's 3, steps away from my home note, right? 1, 2, 3, or the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 6. You can also walk up 6, 7, 1, right? Whatever's closest. Once you're at 5, might be easier to walk up. 4, it's easier to walk down, right? So get back to your home and think about how many steps. It's just like rungs on a ladder, right? So this is how we play by ear, but that's an app that quizzes you. It has like 20 questions at a time, and it really just helps you to stay sharp, to kind of gives you immediate feedback on if you're processing all this information correctly. But you can really train your ear with that app. And like I said, I also have courses below. You can check out. I do some ear training in those courses as well. But this is something as a church musician you should really strive for. I think it'll give you a level of confidence that you've never had before. So it's a worthwhile effort to pursue. You don't have to have perfect pitch. You just have to have really good relative pitch. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure you hit that like button if you've liked this video and subscribe. I've got tons of new content planned for this year. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.